Hello and welcome. My name is Brian Caplen, editor of The Banker. I'm here with James King, who is a regional editor, and we're previewing SWIFT's African Regional Conference, which is taking place in Cape Town in early May. So James, you're going to be going to the conference. You're going to be doing some view from interviews there with some of the participants. What do you think are going to be the main talking points? Well,
the big issues this year, Brian, focus on regional integrations. They're looking at the integration of payment systems, particularly across Southern Africa. Alongside that, we have issues related to growing securities markets across the continent, as well as a focus on regulations and their impact on African finance, and in particular, the issues around KYC.
Okay, let's talk about the securities markets, because I mean we have seen a lot of development in terms of African IPOs and African bond issuance, but how much do you think that the African capital markets now are really serving the needs of the continent, considering how fast it's growing?
I mean, there has been some development, as you say, but there is still a long way to go, and obviously these securities markets need to develop and mature somewhat. They're still quite illiquid, so there is room there for maturation to take place. And one argument being put forward is that perhaps greater regionalization and greater cooperation between these exchanges will be a way to achieve that.
Okay, now you mentioned payment systems. I mean, not much can take place on the financial front without good, solid payment systems. And if we're talking about African regional development, we need those payment systems to talk to each other or be across the different parts of the region. So how much progress are we seeing on those fronts?
Well, we're seeing very good progress, actually. We've seen a new payment system introduced to the Southern African Development Community. There are now 70 banks using the system. And it's exceeding expectations in terms of the volume of transactions, which is very encouraging. At the moment, though, it's more geared towards sort of high-value payments, so it's not so much geared towards lower value and retail payments, but that's expected to come online either this year or next year.
Okay, and when we talk about regulation, clearly in the African context, KYC, know your customer, and AML, anti-money laundering regulations are quite key. And we have seen some of the international banks withdraw on that front. So are we now seeing more opportunities for local banks to take up that business, providing, of course, they can get their regulations in the right place? And that's one thing that SWIFT sometimes helps banks with, doesn't it?
That's right, Brian, that's correct. As you say, there has been a general withdrawal to some extent by US and EU lenders from working relationships with their African partners as a result of these new regulations. But I think we're moving in the right direction in terms of the way African banks can deal with these regulations. They're becoming much more experienced and have much more sort of expert input from bodies like SWIFT, for example. So we're going in the right direction, and I think as the EU and American lenders retreat from the continent, there'll be more opportunity there for African banks to really grow and expand.
Okay, James, we'll look forward to hearing your view from us when you get to the conference.
Thanks, Brian.